Merci beaucoup, François. Très bien. It's a pleasure to be out here in beautiful, sunny Luxembourg. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't quite the gray overcast skies. My name is Mike Branch. I head up data and AI for Geotab. Pleasure to be here today. I'll be joined on stage a little bit later by Felipe Hoffa, who is relatively new to our team, but not new to the world of data and AI. He's a principal data and AI advocate for Geotab. But prior to Geotab, he was with Google, with Snowflake, doing a lot of really cool stuff. So he's no stranger to that. Today, we will be talking about the wonderful world of agents. And you must be living under a rock if you haven't heard about agents in the last year or two. It's taking the world by storm. And we're going to be talking about the agents, and we'll be talking about the future. And I thought, you know, we can't talk about the future really without bringing up a DeLorean. And I bring this picture up because this represents me, or some vague resemblance of me, traveling back in time in my DeLorean to Las Vegas, to Resorts World, where we had our Connect 2024 conference. And just show of hands, how many people were at that conference? Okay, a few people. So if you were at that conference, you would have remembered I had a slide similar to this. And I was talking about the evolution of agents at that time. Now, keep in mind, this is 2 years ago. And at that point in time, ChatGPT was still relatively new. I could ask how many people had used ChatGPT in the audience, and a couple of people would raise their hand. Now it's pretty much the entire audience that does that. And we evolved from this world of a single agent where you're communicating with ChatGPT. At that point in time, there were a couple of specialized agents. Google had released MedPalm, which is like an expert at understanding everything healthcare related. Then I hypothesized that, hey, we're probably going to be getting to the world of these specialized agents working together. And here we are. I mean, we are. And then autonomously, without human interaction. And the interesting thing is that when this happens, you go from this passive state all the way through to this very, very active state. And when that happens, you have limited economic impact, and this is the same metaphor I gave 2 years ago, to major economic impact. I likened it to the agricultural revolution, right? You have a single farmer tilling the soil, limited economic impact, major economic impact with these massive harvesting machines. And boy, oh boy, have we come a long way. In just a couple of years, we're sitting at about here today. This is happening all across the globe. We're not quite where it's happening autonomously all the time, but my goodness, are we getting there faster than ever before. And 2025 was absolutely the year of the agent. We started off this year with OpenAI's Operator. And you could ask it something like, hey, I want to find the coolest hotel in Barcelona and book it for me. And it would go and do that. And now we're so used to having these sidekicks with us. Gemini's deep research, OpenAI's deep research, some incredible tools that allow us to do some incredible things so very quickly, quicker than ever before. And we've evolved from prototypes to things actually coming into full production. We've gotten to the point where Goldman Sachs, and I think around August, has actually hired its first AI software engineer, capable of coding, doing QA reviews. They've actually personified this. I use Devin AI. They personified it. Devin AI has got a LinkedIn profile. Not as many subscribers as I would have thought, but it's happening very quickly. We're moving from prototype to production across the globe. And in fact, if you look at the worldwide interest in all of this, and this isn't just technical interest, this is worldwide global trends when it comes to interest in AI agents, you can see it pretty flatline. Then something happened this year. And around the end of the summer, there was a spike in interest. And for me, this symbolizes the time when we, as a globe, started seeing AI less as something that you can just chat with, but something that can act on your behalf. So it's really interesting to see this trend over time. But why? Why did all of this happen? Why did it happen so very quickly? Well, there are a few reasons. Breakthrough product innovations. We have OpenAI's Operator. We've had some incredible stuff with Claude Code recently. Incredible. It can code some complete applications for you. We're using it all the time at Geotab. You've got enterprise-ready infrastructure. People, you don't have to be a technologist or a developer to develop an agent. You can go into Google, into Microsoft's platform, no-code platform, and develop your own agents in there. It has democratized this for the globe. And what's better is that it's in an environment that you're already used to. So all the security's been taken care of. So my goodness, has this really accelerated the pace of AI agents in 2025? And then there's, of course, the standards and interoperability. I kind of picture, my old days in youth of playing with Lego blocks, and you'd have the standard Lego blocks, and you'd have the knockoff ones, and you would try to pry them together and put them together, and nothing would ever work. Without standards and interoperability, you get that same kind of thing. And so this year, a lot was introduced. We hear about MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. You hear about A2A, open systems to allow agents to communicate with one another, which has allowed this to really explode this year. This one here, I'm sure, is no stranger to everyone. We've got an AI war that has started between China and the US, which has exacerbated this interest in agents. It's not just about the technology, it's about these geopolitical forces. And all of this is spurring on some incredible use cases. And when people start talking about the different use cases of AI, it spurs on the imagination of you or I listening to these things and what more we could do. So huge explosion this year. Agents are here. They're real. They're not going anywhere. And moreover, they're having an impact, a huge impact. So there was a survey done by Google this year, and this survey was done from about just over 3,000 executives across the globe, and the companies were sized 10 million plus. 88% of these executives who are adopting agentic practices are seeing a positive return on ROI. Those who had adopted generative AI practices, 52% of them have an agent in production today, and 39% have more than 10 agents in production. And this number over here is the one that surprised me the most. 43% of executives, when surveyed, said that deploying more AI agents was in their top 5 priorities over the next 2 to 3 years. I didn't say top 5 technical priorities, top 5 priorities, period. There is a recognition that agents are transforming the way that we work, the positive ROI that CEOs are seeing from this. We've truly gone from prototype to production. Yet, there's this. I was at Google Next back in April, and they showed this slide, and I thought it was really becoming, because nobody knows what the hell an agent actually is. We talk about it all the time, but what actually really is an agent? So I'm just going to spend one slide talking about this. An agent, in a sense, is something that can observe the world around us, perceive something, make a plan of action, and then take action. And it doesn't have to be autonomous, but you're taking action. And agents have memory, like you or I. They've got AI models, all these large language models, and they've got systems that they can interact with, right? So an agent is perceiving the world around us. It's looking at its memory, right? It's able to make a plan of something that it needs to do. And then quite simply, it's taking action via APIs and these kinds of things. And at the end of the day, it should be doing this. Some of them do it well, some of them not. It evaluates how well did it actually do at what it said it would do. And we at Geotab, we're no stranger to agents at all. In fact, Geotab Ace, which we launched a couple years back, was a single agent. It was really good at doing data analysis, data science work. We spent a lot of time over the last couple of years transforming that platform into a multi-agent platform. Behind the scenes, Neil mentioned it this morning, 30% of the questions that were asked of Ace weren't even data related at all. They were knowledge related, support related. So we introduced new agents. We've got our data agent, we've got a knowledge agent, and the whole idea is to make the system more capable across the board. So you're not relying on an agent just simply understanding all there is to know about data. It understands the knowledge of the ecosystem, the support. We're working on work order agents, which can convert work orders very, very quickly into the system. Summarization agents that will automatically tell you as a driver or as a fleet manager proactively the things that you need to worry about today. And you can see where it's going, that little ... More and more agents will be added to the system. It's a multi-agent system, so more capability. And then, of course, easier to integrate with. We already have partners who are integrating with Ace. Felipe will talk a little bit about that and how people are doing that today via API, but we want to make it easier for you. If you're in Gemini, or if you're in ChatGPT or Claude, you should be able to call an MCP server, and you should be able to, from there, communicate with Ace in the Geotab ecosystem, meeting you wherever you are. This world is fast exploding, and we're here to kind of usher you guys through it as well. So I think the interesting thing for me is that we're well positioned as Geotab, the partner ecosystem that we have. Incredible customers. I think it's this ecosystem that will drive really interesting use cases from an AI perspective. And if you think about it, I'll use the Lego analogy again. Geotab can build an ecosystem of agents in this kind of city format. But with our partners, you can build so much more. And then with our customers, you can add even more on top of that. So an ecosystem of AI agents that we build together will have multiplicative value to you, to your businesses, to customers across the globe. And you are limited only by your imagination. No longer is it a technical restriction. You're just limited by your imagination. This right here, I have a 7-year-old. He loves Lego, and this was his creation. He decided to create a little restaurant here, a parrot on top. All that to show you guys that just like you can build incredible things with Lego, you'll be able to do the same thing with agents, and you're limited only by your imagination. It's no longer a technical barrier for you to do some incredible, incredible things. So over the last year, we've done a lot with Ace. We've reduced its time to response. We've made it multilingual. We've created an API. You saw some of the work that Abby and the folks were talking about earlier. We have the chat history, so some incredible, incredible stuff. But what I want to share with you is my top 4 favorite features of 2025, both to date and a little bit of a peek into the future as well. So number 4 for me is simply this, using this @ symbol. Abby and them talked about that earlier, but this is so powerful. So many times our customers were frustrated because they tried to tell Ace what vehicle they were talking about, what rule, what zone, and they couldn't maybe remember what exact zone they were talking about to get it slightly wrong. This simple little @ symbol here allows Ace to know exactly what you're talking about, whether it's a rule, a zone, an exception, whatever. Number 4. Number 3 for me is this one, show me the insights. And you'll see this, it's in staging right now, it's rolling out in the next few weeks. Beyond just data and tables, it's about the insights, right? So you would see a table typically above this, but if I ask a simple question, like how are my vehicles being utilized geographically? Now it's able to process all that data, understand the countries where I'm geographically situated. It said that I've got a hub in Mississauga, a hub in Toronto. I've got, it's looking at my driving distance, it's looking at my driving hours. It says, hey, by the way, you've got also a hub in Austin, Texas over here. And so it's able to process all that data and provide you some insights very quickly. You'll see more and more of this coming. This is a very simple example, but you can see with just one simple line what it's able to do. This one is probably one of my favorites. I'm a data science nerd, so of course it would be, and I'm sure, Felipe, this is a favorite for you too. We're able to do complex geospatial analysis. And MyGeotab is so powerful because you can create some incredible zones and everything But sometimes you want to do an ad hoc analysis. And I just want to know, over the last 3 months, how long did it take me to go from my home to the office? And in a couple of seconds, without any zone creation, it tells me it's about 20 minutes, right? So it's able to do reverse geocoding across the board. You don't need to set up any zones in MyGeotab. Of course, it helps if you want to structure things. However, some powerful, powerful stuff here with all of the geocoding capabilities and complex geoanalysis. And then my number one favorite, and this is going to be rolling out just before the end of the year, charts and maps, because a picture paints 1,000 words. Everybody keeps saying, why don't we have visualization, Mike, yet? Why don't we have that yet? It's because we spent so long getting the quality of the insights and the data right. We want to make sure that was really good before we started moving along to this. And you will see much more acceleration here. People want to know simple things like, I want to look at where my stops are. Just show me a map. I want to visualize things on a graph. Just show me the chart, guys. But I tell you, once you've got the data right, it becomes a heck of a lot easier to visualize these things. So, how are people actually using ACE? We actually use Notebook LM to kind of look at that across the board. There's tens of thousands of questions people are asking ACE across so many different kinds of areas like safety and utilization. I'm going to share with you my top 3 favorite questions in a second. But the journey that people typically go on is this. They'll start off by asking ACE a very discovery type question. What can you do for me, ACE? And typically then they'll move on to questions that are more operational related, like where's Mike right now? Or how many EVs do I have in my solution? And these are typically the SMBs that ask these kinds of questions. Then they'll move on to more strategic questions, like show me the vehicles with the least utilization in my fleet. And these are typically the larger enterprise. But what is super interesting, and we're starting to see a lot more of that now, I'm really pleased to see this, is people are seeing ACE as a conversational partner. So no longer are they just asking questions, but they're asking a lot of follow-up questions. Simple things like, can you add VIN over here, add ODA over here, oh, sort this here, filter this here. And when people start doing that, taking those actions, you can tell it's becoming more of a partner in their journey toward exploration. So I'm really excited to see more people on that side of things. And with that, I thought I'd share with you my top 3 favorite ACE questions of 2025 so far. There's so many in there, it was hard to really pick some of them out. I'll share with you a few. So this one was, of course, Mickey Mouse was not the actual driver name. But this one was interesting for me because it wasn't a typical use case for telematics or for fleets. You had somebody who was looking to migrate from the US to Canada. I mean, I'm partial, but a great choice. And was very interested in knowing, as proof of how long he'd spent in Canada, what that looked like over the past 24 months. So he asked ACE, and it did an analysis for him. And it said, it looked over the last 24 months of data, looked at every single GPS point, associated the country with every GPS point, looked at the duration between those GPS points, and spat out an answer in a few seconds. So now all of a sudden, the guy's got legitimate proof of how long he actually spent in Canada versus the US. Again, I want to share that one because it's a little bit more abstract, not a typical fleet use case, but nonetheless, it shows you some of the power of the system. This one for me was interesting because for the fleet manager, it helps him pinpoint and prioritize areas where truck replacement might be beneficial due to inefficient engines, high emissions, this kind of thing. So on its own, maybe the zone thing, not too, but looking at specifically trucks that are older than 10 years, cool. So what did ACE do? It went through, found all of those zones where there was high idling, looked at the year and make and model of the vehicle, looked for older vehicles, and said, hey, you got to prioritize these zones over here if you're going to look at replacement. Simple, but interesting. This next one for me was super interesting. So the guy is leasing his vehicles and is looking at figuring out how he can do mileage smoothing. So what he wanted to do, he's got a cohort of vehicles with a certain make and model over here that are high utilization. So he's saying, over 15 days in the month, and low utilization, less than 5 days. And he wants to do a bit of a swap to make sure he kind of levels them out. So he asked Ace to do that. And it was able to identify those cohorts of vehicles that were really prime for mileage smoothing. So these are some of my favorites of 2025. And there's so much more you can do with it. Really, you know, the world is your oyster. Use your imagination. And to help you with that, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can build tomorrow, but today. And Felipe is going to walk you through some incredible demos of what you can do today with Ace and the Geotab platform to really light up the imagination. So with that, I'd like you guys give a round of applause for Felipe.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Hello, hello. Is this working? Yes. Hi, I'm Felipe Hoffa. I'm new here, but super happy to be invited by Mike to present. Let me see if I can turn on my computer because I want to do live demos. And it's going to show up any minute. Yes, there it is. So the features that Mike is talking about, some we already have, some are in development. There are great promises here. So if you want all of these features, what's the one thing that you need? What's the one thing that you need if you want all the features that Mike promised? Patience. You need to wait, and we are going to develop all of them, all of those features. But I have no patience. I don't want to wait. I want to build things today. And thanks to AI, AI is giving everyone the ability to build these prototypes, build these demos, build the connections between all of these tools. So let me start with a little example. In this case, Mike was talking about maps. And you might know that with Ace, you can ask not only questions about that's tabular data, you can also ask for points in the map. For example, in this case, I have the question, take all the GPS points from the last 30 days around Toronto where the speed was more than 5 kilometers per hour. So I want to know about when my vehicles were moving, not parked. And I want to cluster the GPS locations, so obtain zones automatically to see where my vehicles were, how many vehicles did I have in each of these zones, and get the average speed in each cluster of those points. And give me the convex hull around those points, so basically a zone that has been automatically detected by Ace. And if you get those results by Ace, you will get a very nice table full of polygons. Now, how do we visualize this? If Ace cannot visualize data anymore, we can copy it to a notebook. In this case, I have here Google Colab. I gave it all of my data. Now, with AI, I can ask Colab to create a map for me. And it can customize it in whatever way I want to customize it. So just to show you this working live, I can ask this, display all this data on a map. Boop. And yeah, Gemini in this case is working. We are using AI, and this is going to write a lot of code that, yes, is going to load the data, parse the geometries, display the map. Do we want it? Yes. Now, instead of waiting for this, let me show you the video I recorded earlier, where I'm running this experiment, and I'm getting a lot of code without needing to know how to code. So this is, yes, preparing, parsing the data, preparing the spatial data. It creates a geodata frame, visualize the clusters, and here you have a map of Toronto and the clusters that were detected. This is not enough for me. I might want to see a different color for each cluster depending on the speed where the vehicles were going. So I can ask for that too. And let's not wait for it. Let me skip for the results. And now I have a pretty map here where I can start wondering, asking more questions about what's happening. Something that's missing in this map is that it's a stationary map. It's showing me what happened last week, but somehow it's summarizing the whole week in one static picture. What if I want an animated map? What if I want to know what's happening hour by hour? I can ask that question to my notebook. I can ask it to create the code to observe this data hour by hour, and I have the final result here. So here you can see how my fleet was moving throughout the day. All of these zones were automatically detected. You can see that around midnight, nothing is moving. Let me reload it to start again. But yeah, so 2 a.m., 3 a.m., not many vehicles are moving, but they're moving fast. As the day progresses, things are moving faster. Well, I have more vehicles around. They're moving slower. I can see how slow they're moving. And this was all automatically generated with a Colab notebook. This brings me to what happens if I want to ask more questions? What happens if I want to ask why? It's not enough to know what data I'm getting, but I also want to understand why things are happening and how to figure those things out. So I want to move here to Claude. You might know Claude. There's ChatGPT is the most famous one, but this demo works really well here. Usually, if you come to your favorite chatbot, it will know nothing about your fleet. So if I ask Claude, how did my fleet do last week? The usual answer is, I don't know. But in this case, let's see what happens. Claude is thinking, of course, I help you check how your fleet performed last week. It will ask a question to Geotab. It's talking directly to Ace and getting the results from Ace and figuring out what to do with that data. It's going to take a second, so let me show you one that's already recorded here. The first question that I started with here was, create a chart of Geotab fuel utilization by month. And of course, it goes for the first question, show me fuel utilization by month for all vehicles. It runs the query. It gives me the Ace interpretation. Ace usually gives you the first 10 rows, but it knows to ask for the full result set. It gets all of the results. Then it analyzes the data. It understands what's happening. And I get an interactive chart. Thank you, Claude. The chart is happening here, my fuel trend analysis. And I get key insights. And you can get this now. You just need to connect one with another. In fact, you can see here in Claude that I have turned on my Geotab MCP server. This one is how I'm connecting Claude straight to my Ace, Geotab Ace implementation. And then I have questions like, why did the fuel utilization go up? And Claude proceeds to research it. It asks more questions to Geotab, and it created a new interactive chart. One of the first insights is, of course, my fleet is growing. And there is increased operational activity in July and August. And the fuel efficiency was different. And it all depends if where did I drive, what type of vehicles was I using. And I love these interactive charts because, for example, I'm able to, it just created a correlation analysis of how the distance we were traveling between the fuel use and the efficiency trends. And if you look here, we have January and we have March. February was skipped because February has anomalous data. February, somehow we got very strange data out of our database. So in this case, Claude decided to skip that month. So you can see here that it understands what's happening and it's helping us understand why. And of course, I can ask what happened in February. And it turns out there were 2 problematic vehicles that were reporting way more utilization than normal. And it creates an incident report on what happened. And it's like, thank you. You're doing this for me. And for my last, the other experiment that I want to show here is I can connect Claude not only to Geotab Ace, I can connect it to other tools. I can connect it to, I don't know, my Salesforce or just my calendar. So in this case, I asked it, look at my next 3 meetings and prepare me for the Geotab-related meetings. And of course, it found my meeting that says that I have to do some research so I can show tech leaders the abilities of our new MCP integration. Claude just starts preparing for my meeting, asking questions to Geotab. It prepared the presentation. I wasn't happy with that presentation. I wanted to show more complicated questions, so I just asked it. There's some interesting flaws of how MCP allows multi-step digging into the API. So of course, it goes for one question, it finds revealing facts. Now it's asking questions about one vehicle having a high idle time. There's more and more and more, and then it has a full presentation that I even asked it to create a presentation for me. It's interactive, Geotab plus MCP, how things are happening, and all of the insights that it found for me, because it was able to prepare me for this presentation. So in closing, of course, we are doing this now. At least one of partners, these are Metrica Mobile in Mexico. They are integrating Ace within their bigger tool. The code I used to connect Claude to Ace, it's open source. I put it yesterday on GitHub, so if anyone wants to try this at your own company, just download this code, do your experiments, let's improve it together. And my last note here is, what's stopping us? Why do I have all these features in my, on my laptop and they are not ready on the Geotab platform? It's because things take time. But now with AI, we can build these demos in 1 afternoon. It just takes no time to start creating these things, testing what we want, and showing the world what we want. It takes a longer time to put them in production, make sure they work for everyone. But we can have some shared responsibility. We'll give you the basic blocks. You can build with this. We can discover together what we want to happen. And with that, Mike is going to close this session. Here's the logo again for those that were taking pictures. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felipe, for that. Hope you guys learned a lot there. And let's remember what Felipe showed you. You can absolutely do today using all of these tools. So thank you very much for showing us the art of the possible, some imagination. And I want to take this opportunity to invite you all and those folks at your organizations to come out to Geotab Connect in Las Vegas. We're actually going to be doing a vibe coding competition there as well, too. So it's going to be for the course of a day. We'll have people actually building full-scale applications that you can actually leverage and use. Building with AI. And with that, I'd like to leave you with one last message. You know, our only limitation now, it's not the technology, it's just your imagination. So be creative, go out there, explore. Thank you.